How easy would it be to take your child or your wife or your family and point to these images and say, look, here is Elijah and Elisha, when the chariots of fire took Elijah into the sky. Over here, here's the Transfiguration. This is where Peter and James and John saw Jesus transfigured before them. You could go through the aisle and look and see, and the whole faith, all of it, is portrayed in front of you. No DVDs, no big screens. It's all there in very low tech, but as beautiful and as effective as anything. How many people have ever been to Duke Chapel? Ever been to Duke Chapel? How many people walk down Duke Chapel? Look, I mean, even Carolina fans can appreciate Duke Chapel, right? I mean, okay, Rhonda's not, she's not going there. She ain't going, all right, that's cool. Duke Chapel, you look at those windows. How long can you look at a window and get a message from one of those windows? How long will it take you to interpret the stories embedded in those images? How much do those windows have to say? How easy is it to say, look here and there, and all the stories, all the things that make our faith what it is, all there. It's amazing how powerful that is. Okay, our problem today is we didn't necessarily follow Martin Luther when we all came to America. Not blaming you because you didn't make the decision. I didn't make the decision. But when we came to America, we adopted the things and the styles of the people here. And the people here didn't believe in images. So here at St. Mark's and other Lutheran churches throughout America, we don't have the benefit of that tradition. We don't have the images. We don't have the windows we can point to. We don't have that style. We don't have it. We're bereft. On the other hand, we don't have the conviction of others that images are the tools of Satan. We don't have the conviction that we will make no graven image. And as W.B. Yeats said, I've quoted before, the best of us lack all conviction, and the worst of us are filled with passionate intensity. It's bad when if we don't have that conviction on the one side to strengthen our faith, as it certainly does for many people. On the other hand, we don't have the benefit of the images that we tacitly tolerate but don't have anyway. We're stuck in the middle and we're bereft on both sides. We don't have the conviction against idol or images. I certainly do hope we have a conviction against idols, but we don't have a conviction against images in worship. But we don't have them to benefit from them either. So we're stuck. So, even on top of that, and the last thing I want to talk about is the fact that young people here today have no problem with images. They work in images. Okay? Anyone since 1984, if you ever worked on a computer, what do you do when you want to get a program running? Ever since Macintosh came out in 1984, you take your mouse, you click on a what? You click on an icon. Everybody knows what icons are. Nobody confuses the icon for, say, iTunes, for instance. You don't confuse the icon for the program that it represents. You don't make that confusion. It's not an idolatrous thing. We don't confuse an image here with the reality behind it. We don't confuse it. We don't worship the image. We use that image to get to the reality, to interface with the reality behind it. Jesus, the image of God, like the text said today, we use that image of Jesus to approach the reality of God that is in Jesus. In the same way, a good Catholic, for instance, praying to St. Mary, approaching St. Mary, venerating a saint, venerating an image, uses that image to approach God through it, not to confuse the image with God, but to work with it. And we've done this piecemeal in the past. We've handed out little stones for people to carry in their pockets to remind them of God's love or peace or grace. We've done that before, and that's using more or less an image. It's a little reminder. Okay? But I think we could do more, especially in the age we live where images are so important. Young people learn through multimedia. They use PowerPoint presentations that are full of images. They use different means to learn, not just lectures, not just this rational, linear way of thinking, but they use multimedia that are full of images, images that help us learn. So many people learn that way, young people especially. We need, I think, to adopt a more healthy Lutheran, Catholic, mind you, way of working with images in our worship. That's just one of the ways. We talked about it last week when we talked about using those pictures of, say, Albert Duhrer's praying hands. That's a good example right there. Or the old fellow with the table with the bread, the Our Daily Bread painting. Those images that filled our parents' house, filled our grandparents' houses, worked in the same way. They taught the faith. And yet today we don't have those images in our homes like we used to. I suggest that we start doing that. I don't know if we need to go down to Webb Road and to the flea market there and pick up every little bit of religious kitsch that we find. That may be troubling. I'm not advising that. But there's nothing wrong with finding a religious object and putting it on a wall in your house. I don't think there's anything wrong with using such a thing to pray, to help us focus, to try and interface with God, who is behind that image. I think it is altogether right and Lutheran for us to approach that. We need to find ways to do that in the days ahead, because the images that we hold dear today are being broken all around us. Images of prosperity, images of financial power, images that have been struggling, images that we have grown up with and are comfortable with, cultural, secular images that are being broken all around us. We are living in an age of broken images. It's time for us to take that image, that particular image, Jesus, the image of God, and use that to teach the faith, to bring up our children, and to show others the depth and the wonders and the riches of the Christian faith that has sustained so many people for so long